Hari Rama. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Padajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Padajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 31st day of October 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Chapter 2, Contents of the Gita Summarized, text number 67 on page 132. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano anuvidhiyate tadasya hadati pragyam vayur navam ivambasi indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya hadati pragyam vayurnavamivambasi. Page 132. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya hadati pragyam vayurnavamavambasi. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya hadati pragyam vayurnavamivambasi. Go ahead, Jed. Indriyanam charatam tadasya haditi pragyam vayurnavamivambasi. Anyone over here? This side? Want to try? Indriyanam charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya hadati pragyam vayurnavamivambasi. Indriyanam charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya harati pragyam vayurnavamivambasi. No? Not yet. She's a little... I'm not going to push you. She made a decision. Anyone online? Okay. All right. You said it in front of the deities, even though the curtains are closed. Even the curtains are closed. He still... Okay. All right, word by words. Indriyanam, of the senses, he certainly, charatam, while roaming, yet with which manaha, the mind, anuvidhiyate, becomes constantly engaged, tat, that, asa, his, harati, takes away, pragyam, intelligence, vayuhu, wind, navam, a boat, eva, like, ambasi, on the water. Translation. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Purport. Unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. As mentioned in the life of Maharaj Ambarish, all of the senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness, for that is the correct technique for controlling the mind. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, Krishna is describing now how we have to be vigilant, because we have these senses, these five senses, and we're conditioned over many lifetimes to use those senses to roam our environment and find something that's fascinating, interesting, that we want to pursue for sense gratification. It also works in the other way, and that we always have to be vigilant as we're roaming and we find something that's dangerous and we want to either fight or flight, right? In other words, that's the flip side. So, I mean, clearly we have experience. Even one of the senses, you can hear some singing. Just like there's a pastime where Lord Chaitanya is in Puri, and at that time he was exhibiting the highest levels of prema bhakti. He always exhibited, but he was especially exhibiting there, in the most extreme levels and display. So he heard the singing of a woman. She was singing songs about Krishna, but it didn't register. He's a sannyasi. He's not supposed to, be attracted by that. But she was singing songs about Krishna, so he started running. He started running toward the singer, and his servant was running after him, and he practically tackled him before he reached the singer. And Lord Chaitanya, and he was yelling after him, "It's a woman! It's a woman! It's a woman singing!" The sannyasi, very strict. Lord Chaitanya was very. So he then thanked his servant Govinda. "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened to me if I had touched the woman." So that's kind of a transcendental example. But on the mundane plane, we have experience. That's what material life is. Is that the radar is always out. There's something that looks good, something that sounds good, something that tastes good or smells good, so you know it's going to taste good. And that's attracting the mind to try to enjoy. And we get into habits of actually yielding to that. That's what material life is, conditioned life. You just have a certain mode of nature that you kind of fall into, and you are attracted by things in that mode of nature, and you become habituated to that. And it may not be officially an addiction, according to what the scientists say, but it serves as that, in that you're in that rut, and this is what you want to do, And as and each age that you are, I remember, when I grew up, at a certain age, I really wanted a bicycle. All my friends had bicycles. Until then, I was 5, 6, 7. I didn't need a bicycle. I couldn't, because there's a learning curve. You have to be taught how to ride so you don't fall over. But then once I, got trained up, boy, I needed a bicycle like anything, and I got one. My parents bought me a bicycle, $25 or something in that. I rode it everywhere. But then I grew a little older. I got into high school. I was using it less and less, and then we put it down in the basement of our apartment building and gathered dust. It came and it went. But then there were other things that were attracting. So this is material life. And here Krishna is describing one who's trying to advance in spiritual life, which means self-control and focus and absorbing the mind in the transcendence, whether it's Krishna, which we know is the ultimate, or Brahman, whatever it is, it involves sense and mind control. That's the essence of yoga. Really, yoga means linking. You're linking your consciousness to the Supreme, one way or another. But because we're habituated to having our consciousness drawn here and there, we have to have a discipline that trains the mind. It says, no, don't go there. The senses. See, and in Krishna consciousness, you see it's a science. Because to try to stop the senses is practically impossible. But to engage the senses, you get what we call the higher taste. You may remember in text 59, I think it is. It was a key verse. Let's see if I got the number right. Yep, there it is, 59 on page 325, where Krishna says, Vishayavani vartante nirahara sedehina. Rasavarjam rasopyasya padam drishtva nivartate. So Vishaya means the object of the sense enjoyment. You see that? Vinivartate, a practice to be refrained from by not nirahara literally means negative restrictions Prabhupada has here. But ahara means to consume. It's like every one of our senses consumes some set of sense objects, It's obvious for eating, But also, you know, we're consumers of all kinds. Like you consume movies, you consume rock music, you consume, you know, everything. So, but nirahara means don't eat. Aha means to eat. Niraharasya, your practice to not let them consume. So here, vishayavani vartante. So by practice, and here's an example. You know, people are, the demons have engineered all of this processed food to make it practically addictive. So people get involved with, you know, I go shopping sometimes for Ralph's. I basically buy 2 or 3 things: organic kale and organic blueberries. You know, that's what I get there. But they have nice price on it and quality. But there's a million other things, you know, I could buy. I mean, there's a section of fresh stuff, you know, but it's far outweighed by the aisles of snacks, and there's a whole aisle of liquor, different kinds of liquor. They never used to have that in the grocery stores, you know. So anyway, it's all, you know, designed to draw you in, and well, let me try it. And of course, they engineer just away the combination of fat, sugar, salt, whatever it is, you know. And so you become addicted, basically. And, you know, you're watching TV and you're snacking, you eat a whole bag of Doritos, whatever. And after a while, you get fat. Everyone knows there's an epidemic of obesity, right? Not just here. And they go into like like Mexico. I saw this feature on YouTube in Mexico. It's huge. I mean, people are, you know, chronically overweight. So so therefore, you know, we want to try to lose weight, right? So this is describing how you don't consume. You say, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight, and you don't. You stop. Say, I didn't eat 1 Dorito this week, you know. But the desire is still there in your heart. See, that's what it says. Rasa varjam. Rasa varjam means giving up the taste. You see, but the taste remains. It's in the translation. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment by an outside force or by his own force of will, because you want to lose weight, say, the taste for the sense object remains. I mean, everyone who goes on a diet, you know, you go by that you know, ice cream store or something. I used to, when I was a kid, of course I was very active, I never really got fat, but I had a whole thing for chocolate sundaes and the thing that, you know, eventually I lost that addiction. But if you contemplate them, the old hankering comes up and your will can weaken, you know. Everyone knows you're an alcoholic, you know, you're going to AAA. Is it AAA? 2 A's. AA. I'm sorry. I've been a member of AAA for a long time for the car. But if you hang out with the people, or if you go by the bar that you used to frequent, you know, then the temptation may be, you know, your mind is telling, look, you know, you're not going to take a drink, but your friends are there, so go in there and you sit there and you schmooze. No. You have a little, what's a little drink hurt me, you know, before you know it, you're staggering out the door. So that's what this is describing. You may give up the vishayas, but the desire remains. But, padam drishtra navartate, if you directly experience the padam here is short for Krishna. It means the transcendence. If you can experience the transcendence and become attracted to that, and your same senses are being engaged. The same eyes that were watching the movie, you know, a week ago are now seeing the deity. The same tongue that was eating unmentionable things is now eating prasadam. You know, the same ears that were hearing the rock music is now hearing Hare Krishna, and some nice song about Krishna. So that's the way that you can actually become fixed in this age. Krishna, in the 6th chapter is called Dhyana Yoga. It's called Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga is the physical. I know a little about that because I went around to the yoga studios before I joined, you know. So there's the 8 processes, they're mentioned there. Krishna doesn't go through the 8, but in the purports. There's a whole yoga, Patanjali yoga system. Right? So the first one, it has 2 things, yama and niyama. Yama is the don'ts, and niyama is the do's. There's so many restrictions, and there's so many things you should do in order to just get set for yoga. So that you're able to practice asana, the sitting. I used to be able to do full lotus posture, maybe for 15 minutes. Not bad. Huh? And and I was trying to meditate, that was it. So, but it's really not suitable in a hurly-burly of a city environment, you know what I mean? So, yama, niyama. So many don'ts and do's to get suitable for asana. And Krishna says, you got to go alone. You got to be in a lonely, sacred place, peaceful place where you can practice. It's not going to happen on Fifth Avenue or, downtown San Diego. I mean, you can have the studio, but no one's going to really make that substantial and real advancement. So, yama, niyama, asana, sitting, then pranayama, this regulation of the breath. I used to practice a little of that. It really works. You can become much more peaceful. And I invented a form of meditation, which I then found in the Bhagavatam, in a purport. And that is because you're breathing and you're watching the breath. That's the whole thing. And you do this balancing. It does help your health and make you calmer. But so, all right, I'm sitting there breathing, so I'm watching the breath. So I said, okay, let me chant Hare Krishna in my mind. I chant a little japa. Then I say, take it inside. I invented the whole thing. So as you're breathing in, you watch the breath and you just chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. And as you breathe out, you say Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And I found that you can really become absorbed that way. I don't think it's illegal to do that. You can do that. Of course, we want to chant japa, but when you're not chanting exactly, you can do that because we're trying to get to the point of chanting 24 hours a day, which is kind of inconceivable right now. But this is one way of doing it. So the point is that Krishna consciousness, the process as scientifically engineered by Rupa Goswami, he really put it all down in the Nectar of Devotion. That's what we follow. It gives you a way of engaging the senses, the mind, and the intelligence, and the body itself in Krishna's service. What's all this bowing down? The bowing down is like the body itself showing deference, and it has an effect on the mind. He says, I'm not going to bow down to anyone. Prabhupada, there's a talk in the early days. It's a transcription. I think it was in 26 2nd Avenue or something, And one fellow is not bowing down, and then he was explaining to Prabhupada why he doesn't want to bow down. I don't have to bow down to anyone. So Prabhupada, yes, you do. Everybody bows down at the end. When you're lying in the bed and you bow down to Krishna. The force is there. And so Prabhupada is saying if you do it willingly, as a service, as honor, as worship, then you make advancement. Then your consciousness is, and that's really what it's all about. There's a science to it. I'll tell you a story. My old friend Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, he was a Sanskrit scholar. We practically joined the same time in Brooklyn, and he was a brilliant scholar. He didn't study Sanskrit till he came to Krishna consciousness, but he learned, he became expert. And he was the Sanskritist who helped Vidyananda Maharaj when he was, and I was also working on it, completing the Bhagavatam. The last 77 chapters of the 10th canto, very substantial. And there were 32, I think, chapters of the 11th canto. There was a devotee, a very nice devotee, who was doing the English editing on the first 20 chapters. So I did the last 12 there, and the 13 chapters of the 12th canto. So there's all these commentaries and everything you have to be able to read in Sanskrit and understand the intricacies. And so he worked on that. So he, let's see, what was I explaining? I lost the train. Anyway, maybe it'll come back to me later. But the idea is, just from the verse again, is that, the whole idea is that all of your faculties there's a way of engaging all of your faculties in Krishna consciousness. Even Krishna says, in the 7th chapter, where he's saying, I am the light of the sun and the moon, I am the ability of man, right, all these different things. So then he says, Dharma varuddha bhuteshu kamasmi bharatarshava. I am sex that's not against the religious principles. It's not that outlaws. How can you outlaw sex? And sex is necessary, but it has to be done in such a way that it doesn't degrade you. And so within family life, for the purpose of having good children, this is all dharmic. Then I am that. Krishna blesses it. You see? But the whole idea is that you don't want, and in the verse we read today, 67, even one of the senses that you don't rein in, that gets out of control, can carry away your mind. You know, can carry away your mind completely. That's the idea of this. It's like a strong wind carries a boat away. So the intelligence is the key. That has to be under control. It's the higher self controlling the lower self. You see? So with your intelligence, you say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to get up early. I remember when I first joined, you know, this whole period where perhaps the most difficult thing at first is getting up so early. You know, you're not used to that. And then the cold shower. Especially, I joined in the March 27th, which is definitely still part of winter in New York State, you know. And it was pretty cold. The temple had some heat, but not, you know, completely. And I don't think there was any hot water in the showers. Maybe there was, but it wasn't much. So the question is, am I going to take this cold shower, or am I going to have to leave the ashram? And this was the critical thing. That is the question. So I remembered that there's a, did I tell you that? There's a kind of breathing that I was practicing in pranayama. It's a heating breath. It's very simple. If you breathe like that, you definitely won't, you know, you'll be able to undergo the cold shower. So I remembered that and said, okay, I'm going to use it. They didn't tell me I couldn't do it. So I got in there, and, you know, as soon as that water was hitting it, and it took maybe 20 seconds. I took a 20-second shower. They didn't say there's any time limit, you know. Soap up real quick, you know. And so there was a big boost that I know, okay, I can do that, you know. Because I don't think there were any devotees who what they call blooped, you know, or just gave up and left on the basis of that shower. But there was always a certain number who couldn't get up, or they got up but they were used, you know, they'd stayed up so late, or they ate so much at night. That's usually what happened. They couldn't really concentrate. So it's a test. But if you're serious and you see the benefits that are promised, you know. Go back home, back to Godhead, you know, probably describing and get free from birth and death. And you could see, you know, devotees who'd been around for a while, that they were changed. They were enlivened, they were enlivening, and they were very upbeat about life, you know, whereas, you know, you can easily get very depressed and there's no hope, you know. I mean, there's an epidemic of pessimism amongst young people because of the climate change. They're not stupid. They can see that their elders are really not doing anything about it. You can see that it doesn't take a genius to read the graphs. The carbon is still going up, 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 up. And you can just look at the weather report. Crazy things happening, you know. It's got cold really fast, you know. Last winter was very much cold, and I don't think we had the heat till the end of the winter. Maybe 2 years ago now. I don't know, we were sitting here. Everyone was sitting here, and the attendance in our class. This was you know, we would never have this many people in class when we didn't have any heat. Because now it's not that cold. I don't know if we didn't put the heat on, but it gets pretty cold. I've been here 34 years, and it was never as cold as it was last winter for that prolonged amount of time. I checked the weather at 45 degrees. Are you kidding me? You know? Yeah. And now we have El Nino, or the other one that's going to make it colder, you know. So the thing is, you have to kind of strengthen, you know, your inner determination to say, well, okay, it's cold. I'll dress warmly, you know, but I'm going to chant my rounds. I'm going to follow the 4 regs. I'm going to do, you know, I'm determined to stay the course as best I can, you know. So here Krishna is giving us warning how if you let one of the senses go, it can drag your whole intelligence away, and you can become discouraged. And say, oh, I couldn't do it, you know, maybe next life. You know. No. So we shouldn't let that happen. And we should, you know, find out, and there are ways of engaging all the senses. And you know, the ears, obviously ears and the voice are the main ones, you know, and the mind and intelligence. But it's a science. Prabhupada would say it's a science, and it works if we really put our mind to it. All right, let's go on. So now we have a therefore verse, so it must be very important. Tasmad yasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashaha indriyanindriyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita. Okay, so that word pragya is coming up again, right? It was in 67, that was 68. That's the intelligence. Therefore, almighty armed one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. Purport. One can curb the forces of sense gratification only by means of Krishna consciousness, or engaging all the senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As enemies are curbed by superior force, the senses can similarly be curbed, but not by any human endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, is called a sadhaka, or a suitable candidate for liberation. So sadhaka is one who performs sadhana, and there's also a sadhya, the goal of the sadhana. Sadhana means a practice, and it can really be applied to anything. You want to become a great musician, or a good musician, you have to practice according, and you have to take the instruction from someone who knows, a teacher, right? And from books of knowledge. And then if you practice the sadhana properly and you're determined, then you get the result. You can produce nice music, and maybe get a job in an orchestra or whatever. So sadhana simply means a discipline to go in one direction. But the sadhana for bhakti is nicely laid out in this nectar of devotion and the Bhagavad Gita and all these different things. And Krishna is giving us this hint, indriyanindriyartebhyas, withdrawing the senses from the sense objects, controlling that. And then you can fix your intelligence. Because remember that the whole thing is how to get a fixed intelligence so that you can practice devotional service nicely and become what Prabhupada said, fixed up. The whole thing began with Arjuna asking Stita Pragya, the same word Pragya in text 54. Who is it who has a fixed intelligence? Please describe. What do they say? How do they speak? How do they walk? How do they sit? Arjuna wants to be able to recognize them. This is at text 54. What are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? And then then Krishna begins to describe systematically in the subsequent verses. Prajahati yada kaman, sarvam parta. So all of these gross sense gratifications, you throw them away with force. Prajahati means to reject. What does he Prabhupada say? Gives up. But the pra is a prefix that intensifies. Jahati means to give up. Prajahati means to really give him up with determination. That's the idea. And be satisfied with the self, with contact with the Supreme Self. In other words, cultivate that so you get a taste for the name, you get a taste for seeing the deities and service, and that overwhelms your material desire. And we had the verse. You remember we had the verse by Yamunacharya. He had become a king, then he became again a sadhu. And then he said, Yadavadi mamacheta Krishna padada vinde navanamana sadhaman yuddhatam rantamasi tadabadi badanagi nadi sangame smayamani bhavati mukhavikaru sustunishtivanangcha. So he says, ever since I've been enjoying ever new, moment to moment, pleasure by serving Krishna's lotus feet. This is advancement, to be able to cultivate that. Then whenever I happen to remember, because he had been a king, with the harem and the whole thing. When I remember this illicit sex life, I curl my tongue. Prabhupada very charmingly says, I spite at it. That's the way he learned that word. I spit at it. I spite it. So that's an advanced platform to really be able to have a reflex of no, I don't want to do that. It doesn't attract you anymore. That's literally vairagya. Vairagya means to be free from the attraction to the thing. And the vairagya is an essential part of our philosophy or our discipline. There's a wonderful verse, Lord Chaitanya, when he he went to Benares, modern-day Benares. It's called Varanasi, I think the official name. It was the home of the Mayavadis. That's traditionally, I think they still have a lot of encampment there, you know. Mayavadis are impersonalists who say ultimately that even everything related to Krishna is ultimately Maya. It's just a form, you know, a statue you guys are worshiping, you know, like that. So they're actually great offenders. So he went there. No, actually, he wasn't there. He went to Jagannath Puri. When he went to Jagannath Puri as a sannyasi, and there was a great scholar there named Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a Mayavadi, but he was not a dyed-in-the-wool offensive Mayavadi. You know, but he knew that was his bent. So Lord Chaitanya converted him, and to bhakti, and he was a great scholar, and he composed beautiful verses about Lord Chaitanya, and two especially that he sent. They would write on palm leaves, you know. So he sent the verse to Lord Chaitanya's encampment, and the devotees saw the verse and it was very attractive, and his servant wrote it on the outside of the wall because it glorified Lord Chaitanya as Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya didn't like that. And he knew that he might actually rip it up, and that's what he did. When Lord Chaitanya saw the verse, he ripped it up, but it had already been written on the outside. And all the devotees memorized it. It's a famous verse. So what it says is this: Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga shikshartameka purushak purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kripambudiyas Tamaham Prapadye. So he begins with this phrase, Vairagya vidya. This is an important phrase. It means detachment and knowledge. They go together. I always give this example. Some of you may have heard it before. We had a wonderful devotee here. He was Godbrother. He joined in '66, you know, at the temple in Brooklyn. He was here. His name was Madhusudan. His wife still comes. You see them, Kanchan Bala. She designed this beautiful murti, which was then executed in India. She's an artist. A wonderful devotee, and she has a nice daughter there who they live together. But her husband contracted the COVID, and unfortunately he succumbed to it. I forget exactly when. It was at least a year ago, maybe a little more. And so let's see, Vairagya Nija Bhakti Yoga. So I'm sorry, I'm losing the train. But so Vairagya Vidya means oh yeah, that's it. So Madhusudan, every time a Prabhupada's appearance day would come, he would make his specialty, which was sweet rice, a strawberry sweet rice, I think it was, you know. And the devotees would go nuts. It was perfectly made and chilled to the proper temperature, you know. And that would be the pièce de résistance of that feast. You know, it's the nicest feast of the year. So we would do it year after year, and devotees were anticipating. So I'm thinking, okay, so this is an example of how knowledge produces detachment. You know, it's a theoretical thing. It never actually happened. So suppose he you know, Madhusudan is working and he produces this sweet rice and he chilled it just at the right temperature. Now it's time. It's kind of a dessert. So it's near the end of the feast, and all the devotees have their buckets of sweet rice and they're about ready to go down the rows and serve it out to everybody. You know. But at the last second, Madhusudan comes running in from the kitchen. He says, "Stop! Wait! I'm so sorry. You know, I put salt in it instead of sugar this time." Now that knowledge that the salt is there immediately kills the taste. You can't, right? No. Then they stop. So that's what Vairagya Vidya means. So here we apply it here, and we know. Oh, okay. If I get too involved in sense gratification, then I know that I'll suffer. I'll suffer certainly another birth. I don't want to come back and suffer birth, old age, disease, and death again, right? And so I'm going to become detached from those things which will bring me back. Although I used to be attached to them. That knowledge causes it. And it happens all the time. Don't the parents try to get their kids not to take drugs? No, you'll ruin your life, you know, damage. Look, here's an article that describes how, smoking this and snorting this ruins your brain, you know. And so that knowledge, if the kid is smart, oh, okay, forget it, you know. So that's Vairagya Vidya. But in Krishna consciousness, so what the verse goes like this: Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartam Eka Purusha Purana. Purusha Purana is the same ancient person, Krishna, because this is a philosophy that Lord Chaitanya is actually Krishna, appeared in a golden form in the mood of Srimati Radharani, in order to relish his own beauty from her point of view. There's a whole verse about it, because in the spiritual world they couldn't do that. So he had to come with her mood and with as a worshiper of Krishna. So it's Krishna teaching us how to worship Krishna as a devotee, So Vairagya Vidya, and this bhakti, which is characterized by detachment and knowledge. What are we doing? We're getting knowledge so that we become strong enough to give up those things which are impediments to bhakti. If we really believe, yes, this is the most valuable thing we can do, is cultivate this love for God. Even in this life, we can experience constant happiness. This constant happiness punctuated by periods of extreme ecstasy. Isn't that's the best way to live, right? But it's not, you can be extremely poor, In fact, that's an advantage, because otherwise you get attached to all your accoutrements and things like that. So Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Nija Bhakti Yoga means devotion to himself. Krishna's come to teach devotion to himself, characterized by detachment and knowledge. Shikshartam, for the sake of teaching. Eka, that one person. Purusha Purana, the same ancient person, Krishna. Purusha Purana. But he's now Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharidadari. He's taken the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Shari. Kripam Buddhya, he's an ocean of mercy. I surrender unto him. So because that verse pointed out that Lord Chaitanya is actually Krishna, he ripped it up. He didn't want to be addressed as Vishnu. He would put his ears over it, because he's taken the role of a human being, sannyasi. You shouldn't allow yourself to be glorified as God. It'll go to your head. You have to maintain your humility, but all the devotees learned it because it was written on the outside. Now, I can't resist. He wrote another book, of 100 verses about Lord Chaitanya. And it's very beautiful. He was a genius, Sanskrit genius. So here's one verse that I memorized from those 100, and it's a book called the Sushloka Shataka, means 100 beautiful verses about Lord Chaitanya. So here's how the verse goes. Hare Krishna Rama Nama Gana Dana Karinim Shoka Moha Loba Tapa Sarva Vigna Nashinim Pada Padma Lubna Bhakta Vrinda Bhakti Dahinim Gaudamotam Asunami Nama Sutra Dharinim. Isn't that far out verse? So Hare Krishna Rama Nama Gana. So he made a song. He made a gift of the song of Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Rama Nama. That's the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna Rama Nama. Gana is song. Hare Krishna Rama Nama Gana. Dana is gift. Karanim. He made a gift of the song of the Hare Krishna mantra to everybody. And those who accepted, and this is like even neophytes, Shoka, Moha, Loba, Tapa, Sarva Vigna Nashinim. It destroys all your negativities, things that are causing you problem. Beginning with lamentation, illusion, greed, Shoka, Moha, Loba, Tapa, all kinds of suffering. Sarva Vigna, everything that's hurting you, destroys it. In other words, even on the material platform, it's very wonderful. And Pada Padma Lubna, for those devotees who are really greedy for serving his lotus feet, he gives the highest levels of prema bhakti. We want to try to join them if we can. Pada Padma is lotus feet. Lubna, greedy for his lotus service. Lubna Bhakta Vrinda, all the devotees. Bhakti Dahinim. Goldamotam, that golden formed Lord. Ashu, I very quickly, with great enthusiasm, go Ashu Naumi Nama Sutta Dharanim. I glorify him, I worship him, who is sitting in a secluded place chanting japa on a knotted string. They didn't use the beads. The beads are a more modern invention. You have to have more technology to make the beads. So they would knot up a string, and that's how they would chant japa. Pada Padma Gaudamotam Ashanam Nama Sutra. Nama Sutra literally means a sutra is a string for chanting now. Dharanim, he's holding it, and he would chant japa in like a garden somewhere, alone, showing as an acharya. So that's you can all learn that verse. I have a printer, but I never print anything anymore. I'll have to send you a PDF if you want it. I'll send you the whole 100 verses. So this is part of the great treasure of Lord Chaitanya's followers, is that they wrote these incredible verses. And the thing about the best meditation, the central is meditation on the holy name, Hare Krishna, and we should all do that. But these other vibrations, put in a beautiful poetic way in the Sanskrit, I do my little, I don't want to say doggerel, but it's elementary poems. But the great advantage is it's in your language, so you can understand it. Whereas, but the incredible artistry available for the Sanskrit is just unbelievable. It's just and it's very, like, I'll give you a sample, because I was reading. I forgot to bring it today, but tomorrow I'll bring the Krishna book, because it's the Damodar month, and there's part of this chapter where Gargamuni comes and he gives the naming ceremony for Krishna. He's born recently. And then it describes how Krishna and Balaram are growing up. They're crawling on the ground, and then they grab the calves, tails, and they're dragged, and everyone is just delighted by that. So there's one verse describing that, just that, one of my favorite verses. It's very simple. It says, Navashishu Leela Langita Haina Garga Vishkata Nama Rasayana. So after a year of little baby pastimes, Gargamuni came to give the name-giving ceremony. Navashishu means new baby. Navashishu Lila, pastime. Navashishu Lila Langidahayana, after a year had passed, Garga Vishkata Namanasayana. He came to reveal the names, the previous names of who these boys were and everything, without really revealing that they are Narayan. The boys are Balaram and Krishna, name-giving. So then after that, then this is the line that just sends me over the moon every time. Ringana mandata nandana ketana manani matapita gokala chaitana. So Ringan is crawling. Ringana mandati, with their crawling, they decorated the land of Vrindavan, the little courtyards and things, Nanda Maharaja's place. Ringana mandata Nandana ketana. Nandana ketana is Nanda's courtyard, Nanda Maharaj, the father. And Madani Matab, with their sweetness, their sweet behavior, Madani Matab at the Gokula, they delighted the minds of all the residents of Gokula, just by crawling around and being playful. And then there's a whole description of how they would grow up a little bit. They find that they could walk, and then they could run. And so they would go into the houses and they would steal the butter and milk products of the other ladies. And they came to Yashoda to complain. Actually, they just came to see Krishna, and enjoy. And they came to complain about him. And so I wrote a little poem about that. Yashoda's friends approached her and complained about her naughty child, the butter thief. Oh, friend, this son of yours must be restrained. He simply torments us with no relief. We trust that you will thoroughly chastise this boy who always steals and eats our food. But then he looked at them with love-filled eyes, awakening their sweet maternal mood. And so Yashoda and her friends were drowned in waves and whirlpools of maternal love. In all three worlds, no greater love is found. Its home is in Goloka far above. So that's, it's this conception of God who will hide, all of his majesty so that he can enjoy these loving relationships with his devotees is unique. You don't have, this is, even in India it's unique. People are worshiping Durga to go here, they're worshiping Shiva to get money, there's all this conception of, but this is completely selfless. The whole idea is to attain a state of where you don't want anything for yourself, but you're just anxious to serve Krishna and see Krishna and drink in the nectar of his qualities and pastimes. That's the result. And Lord Chaitanya taught that. He says, Nadanang, nasundarim, kabitang va jagadish kamaye, mama janmani janmani shade bhavata bhaktara hoitu ki tvahi. The common things people pray for, wealth, a good wife, whatever like that. So he said, wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. And then the next verse, Ayanandatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho kripayat avapada pankajas titaduli sadvisham vichindaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. You know, that this is the counterintuitive. In the material consciousness, we have the false ego, you know, and we kind of rebel as soon as we're meant, you know, we're put down, or someone else gets, you know, some success and makes us look bad, you know. But in Krishna, it's just the opposite. The more that you can actually feel humble and helpless and cry out to Krishna, the better off you are. That's why one of the verses in the Shikshastika is Trinadapi sunichena, Tador api sahishnuna, Amanina manadena, Kirtani eksadahari. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. Who can imagine? You know, trees so tolerant, but more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. Because if you really feel yourself bereft of, you know, and helpless, what are you going to do? Call out to God. Call out to Krishna, because, you know, you read about how powerful He is and how merciful He is, you know, and favors Dina Bandhu, the friend of the most fallen and wretched, you know. So the more you actually feel like that, and you don't have any material support that you're relying on, then the more you can call out to Krishna with absolute purity, you know. It's amazing. It's the opposite of material consciousness. So I think we've gone a little bit far afield, but I think we've covered this verse, and we kind of ran out of time. So, one more verse, why not? The first verse of the Shikshastika. Yeah. You like that word? I like it's a classic. I once wrote an article about this verse. 7 metaphors. In 7 metaphors, he describes the power and the glory of the holy name. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam shreyakaida bachandrika patadanam vinyavadhu jivanam anandam vadivardhanam padipadam purnamita swadanam sarvatmasnapadam padam vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. It's the basis of the whole movement. and then here's the condensation of the actual. This is what Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda and Haridas to tell all the residents of Bengal to do. This is how they would preach. He gave them a formula: Bolo Krishna, Bodo Krishna, Kodo Krishna Shikha, which means please just chant Shri Krishna's name and worship Him with all your heart. Follow His instructions, and to others them impart. That's the Hare Krishna movement in a nutshell, right? Okay, we actually have run out of time. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you for your attention, and tomorrow we'll resume once again. And maybe it won't be Halloween tomorrow, so maybe there'll be more people. They're out there. I wonder, they can tell us what their costumes were when they went trick or treating.
Hopefully dirty.
Huh?
Hopefully dirty.
Yeah. We used to go on Harinam on Halloween, and you know, some people would dress up as devotees and join us. They would dress up in the costume. Yeah, for years, Friday night we'd go to the gas lamp every Friday night.